Hello, I'm Lucy Carter Lopez, and I am the speaker for today. My topic is roses and thorns. And as I was going through studying this and looking up for instances in common knowledge, also known as Google, um, the roses and thorns, there was a lot of information there that I never had. Roses and thorns is actually used as a check-in. They use it in schools. They even use it in families. And what it helps them do is to recap their day. But when they're doing it, they talk about the roses, and those are the things that went really well, the things that you really appreciated, the things that you understood, the things that made you feel smart and intelligent and happy, and all of those things that give you a positive look, not only at yourself, but at the world. The thorns are things you have trouble with, things you have difficulty with. It may be you don't understand it. It may be that it's painful to think about it, or it may be that there is some other process that's going on. And the idea of doing that in families, what I like about it is it gives you the opportunity to say the things that went well in your day, but it also gives you the opportunity to acknowledge the things that did not. And that's something that we very seldom do. So I think that as you see when I go through the rest of this talk, you'll understand what that's about. So I looked up the symbolism of roses and thorns. Roses are commonly associated with love and romance. Roses can also mean secrecy and confidentiality. The term rosa means under the rose, and it comes from ancient times. It means when, especially now that what I like to think of it as when someone's doing a secret investigation on you, and they may be filming you during periods of time. And I know that that happens because I used to work for Workman's Comp. And sometimes if they feel that someone is not playing fairly, and that they are putting themselves out as being more injured than they are, there will sometimes be an investigation where they'll be followed and they'll be filmed. And if they're doing things that they've claimed they're not able to do, then they have evidence that that's taken care of. On the Fool, the white rose symbolizes purity, and it is a reminder to cleanse your mind. I like that one. The thorn is a symbol of joy and sadness that one experiences simultaneously. It's especially when one grows older and joins society. And that's a time and a place where you begin to see how things really work. And if you were a child who lived in such a way that you were very naive about things, it can be a very rude awakening when you see how some other people make their way in the world. The thorn also symbolizes grief and affliction. Growing up is kind of an affliction, and in the human experience, as love and innocence and truthfulness are lost. You can remember, well, I remember the time I found out that there was no Santa Claus. And there are other things that we try to keep from children because we want to protect that naivete that they carry with them and to have that experience of actual innocence. So when you actually start to experience it, it becomes more difficult for you. And I know for myself, because people saw that in me, I was very naive through my teens. And when I really began to see the world around me, it was very, very, very painful for me. When we look at the rose and the thorn as separates, we see one as desirable and the other as undesirable. If we look at them in tandem, we realize that they affect each other. The beauty of the rose is more defined by the presence of the thorn. You have something that's beautiful and gorgeous, but you also have a thorn that's there, the possibility of pain associated with it, when in actuality the thorn itself was nature's way of protecting the rose from the animals from eating them, and so that we could experience the smell of them and the beauty of them. And I know that when I was a kid, we moved into a house when I was 10 years old, and in the front yard had like 9 rose bushes. And they had 4 across the front of the lawn that was right by the street, and they were what they called tea roses, or my mom called them tea roses, and they had a variation of orange and pink and red that swirled through the roses, and they were gorgeous. And then we had a rose that was white, but there was a stripe across the center from one side to the other that was red when it grew. And I had no idea how that happened. We had a yellow rose. We had an actual red rose that was in itself thornless. It was a thornless rose. And I took it upon myself, because I love them so much, I took it upon myself to be their caretaker, to be the one who went out there and trimmed things back at the particular time of the year. And I don't know why that happened, but I just love the roses. They were so gorgeous. Our thorns are times of deep learning, of gigantic leaps in consciousness. When we remind ourselves what this process brings, it makes the difficulty less. I've had times in my life when my whole being was falling apart, and I never thought I would make it through. But I persevered, and I did a lot of praying, and I decided what my most important things were. And in one of those times, it was my daughter. I was absolutely going to do whatever it took to give my daughter the best life I could possibly give her. And I was absolutely, since I was being a single mom, going to make sure that she knew that she was loved every second. She knew that she could count on me. She knew she didn't have to worry about anything, that I would take care of it. And it was in forming my priority that got me through that whole process. And I have to tell you, I don't like the idea of looking back at the time of it, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. I became who I was. I became a mama bear. I became also a somewhat strict person with my daughter. She definitely had different things that she could and she could not do. And she would always try to cajole me, like when they get to be 9 years old and they think they're an attorney. And she would always say, "But Mom, so-and-so can do this." And I would say, "Well, so-and-so is not my child, and my child is not going to do that." And it was very funny, because after a while she would come to me and she said, "I know so-and-so's not your child, and I know that your child isn't going to do this, but how come they get to do it?" And it was a never-ending test. But one of the things she knew, she could talk to me about anything. Because when she was small, I rocked her to sleep every night. When she got a little older, I read her a story every night, or I sang her a song every night. She could make the choice. And then when she started moving toward puberty, it was a time when I went in to her room at night and she had 15 minutes of my undivided time, and she would tell me about things in her day, or she would ask me questions about things that she was concerned about, or she would just tell me something. She could never keep a secret from me, no matter how hard she tried, because the time when she had that opportunity to tell me, something just bubbled up in her, and she went ahead and she would tell me what it was, and we would discuss it, and I would not use that time to scold her or anything, but more as an opportunity to have that discussion about what did she think was the best way to handle it, and to praise her when I thought she made a correct choice. So all of those things were very healthy. What I've learned is I appreciate the gifts of the dark night despite the method of arrival, because for me it has made me into a woman that I am proud of, I like being, and as I once said to my mother when she was scolding me when I was 40-some years old, and I said, "Mom, can't you be happy for me? I like who I am. Are there ways that I can improve? Yes. Would I like thinner thighs? Yes. But I like me." And when you go through those moments of the dark night and you come out the other side, you will find that you are a different person. And I hope that you found, like I found, that I liked who I was and I was happy with me. Thank you.